years ago, I posted the book haul we are about to react to. 2 full years ago, October 2023. And the question being, have I read the books that I bought 2 years ago in October? I would like to say yes, but we're going to dive in and we're going to find out. We're going to watch this book haul together. We're going to react. We're going to see which books I've read, which books I have unhauled, because my reading taste has changed a lot in 2 years. So some books have potentially been unhauled. And we're going to see which books are still sitting unread. Of the ones that are unread, at the end of this video, I'm going to get you to vote down in the comments. And it's going to force me to finally read one of the books that are left unread. Lately, I've been doing okay with these. They haven't been too bad. I think in the last video that we did, the last reaction we did, there was only a couple of books. I think 3 out of the entire stack that I hadn't read, which isn't too bad. And I was looking at my channel, and this is the last book haul I filmed for quite a significant period of time. I remember taking a little bit of time off buying books, and not a full book ban. It wasn't like an intentional thing, and I was buying some books, but I was being a lot more careful about what I brought in. This year, I went off the rails a little bit, but 2024, there's not that many book hauls to react to. So after this book haul reaction, we might not be reacting to a book haul for some time, because I do like to have about 2 years in between the reactions, because, it takes a minute to read all the books. Anyway, let's dive into the reaction. The first book I got was The Girl from Widow Hills by Megan Miranda. I have not read The Girl from Widow Hills from Megan Miranda. Let me grab it. But starting off with an unread book, first book out the gate, is not a good sign. It's not a good sign, friends. The Girl from Widow's Hill by Megan Miranda. I got this used at the time. I don't remember where I got it from, but I do know that it's used from the video that we just watched. And this book is a mystery. Megan Miranda basically does mysteries. I think they're technically like mystery thrillers. I think they're more murder mysteries than that. But I bought this, or got it from a little free library. And then I read a Megan Miranda book. I read The Last House Guest. It's actually written on the back, praise for The Last House Guest. And I didn't like it. So I didn't read any more Megan Mirandas, even though I had some sitting on my shelves. Luckily, last year, Kelsey picked one for B&K Book Club, and I actually really enjoyed that one. And I'm going to be reading another Megan Miranda here in a couple of weeks for B&K again. So I do know that maybe I do like the author, maybe I don't. I don't know which one is more accurate of what I'm going to think of the author's work overall. But I do have higher hopes now that I have enjoyed the most recent Megan Miranda I've read. I need to get to this one, and I don't even remember what this one is about. So let me just check so I can tell you, because obviously you can, vote for this one to be the one that I read. Okay, so in this book, we follow Arden, who at 6 years old was swept away during a storm, she was doing sleepwalking. She was sleepwalking and got swept away during a rainstorm. The community comes together to find this little girl. Luckily, they do find her before she is, injured or worse. And she is now grown up. We fast forward. And every year, fame kind of comes because her mother ended up writing a book about this incident. So every year on the anniversary of this tragedy, or not almost tragedy, there is some fame and onlookers and reporters and all this come out of the woodwork, and she just doesn't want to deal with this anymore. So she moves away, she changes her name, and she wants a fresh start away from this incident. However, it's now the 20th anniversary, and she is starting to feel watched. She thinks someone has figured out who she is, and she's feeling watched, and she starts sleepwalking again because of the stress of this. Then one night, she wakes up in a yard with a corpse at her feet. And I don't know how we get there. I don't know how we get there, and I don't know where we go from there, but that's what the synopsis tells me. That actually sounds quite interesting and intriguing, so I wouldn't mind reading this, honestly. This next book, when I found it in the little free library, the cover got me opening up the synopsis because the cover's beautiful. And then when I read the synopsis, I knew I needed to have this. And that is Emily Eternal by M.G. Wheaton. I have read Emily Eternal. I didn't love this as much as the cover. I think I love the cover more than the inside. It was an interesting story, though. I think I gave it 3 stars. So it was just middle of the road at the end of the day. But I have read this. I have since unhauled it though, because again, it was a 3-star read. I will never reread it. I also got in that little free library trip Frederick Bachman's Things My Son Needs to Know About the World. I have definitely read this Frederick Bachman book. I believe I gave it 5 stars. I am pretty sure. It was very funny with a lot of really cute life lessons about what it is like to be a parent. I love Frederick Bachman. Frederick Bachman is a favorite. I have read every Frederick Bachman that I own officially. I just read the last one. There is a couple novellas that I don't own that I still need to read, but basically I've read almost the entire backlist. The next book I grabbed was Beneath the Starlit Sky by Mark Sullivan. So I have not read Beneath the Scarlet Sky, and I will say I no longer own this book. It was part of a large unhaul that I did when I was trying to make my shelves kind of reflect my current reading taste. Historical fiction is not something I'm picking up. I do not foresee me picking up a lot of historical fiction going forward, so I did unhaul this. This next book I know almost nothing about, and I'm not going to read the synopsis because it is book 2 in a series and I don't want to spoil myself for the first book, but it is An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. This is another book I have unhauled. I like political fantasy. I don't like wartime fantasy, and I do believe that this leans more wartime, war fantasy, battle fantasy than I would particularly enjoy. Plus, since it was the second in a series and I did not own the first, it had sat on my shelves for over a year and I still had no reason to pick it up. Still didn't have the first book, had no reason to pick up the first book. So I figured I would just unhaul this, free up the space, and if I ever do feel the need to pick up this series, I'll just get it from the library. The last book that I got on my little free library adventures was Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. So this book I've also unhauled. I put it back in another little free library from whence it came. It sat on my shelves for a long time. I probably unhauled it around the same time I unhauled the first 3 books that we just talked about. Again, I did a pretty big unhaul about a year ago when it was very clear that my reading taste had drastically changed. And also there was probably no sign of me returning to that old reading way of life. The only book that I've gotten since I did my last book haul for pre-orders is the 4th book in the Thursday Murder Club series, and that is The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. So I don't feel too bad about the first part of this video being mostly unhauls because I did get all those books from a little free library that I unhauled. So I didn't spend money on those, and little free library books are always a little bit hit or miss because you just never know what you're gonna get. So I don't feel bad, and they returned to the community and other people can enjoy them. Now we're into the books that I spent my money on. So hopefully I did better with these ones because there's a little bit higher stakes when you put in an investment. And luckily, the last book in the Thursday Murder Club, The Last Devil to Die, I have 100% read. I thought this was going to be the final book in the Thursday Murder Club series, not because the author necessarily said so, but because of the content of this book. I assumed it was the end. It kind of felt like, you know, the closing out, the wrapping of the bow, but there is about to be another book come out. Actually, it might already be out by this point, to be honest, or it comes out in a couple weeks. Anyway, I will be continuing at some point. I haven't bought the new one because I am on a book buying ban. So, you know, at some point I will get that to put into my collection. But yes, I have read this. This is, I can't remember actually like which one is like my second favorite Thursday Murder Club book. This might be my second favorite or my third. My favorite is the first book. My least favorite is the third. I know that, but the second and fourth, you know, I like them maybe equally. But I believe I gave this 4 stars. Again, sometimes I forget what my ratings are, but I believe I gave it 4 stars, but I have definitely read it. And that is Time to Shine by Rachel Reed. I have read Time to Shine by Rachel Reed. I gave it 3 or 4 stars. I don't remember. Anyway, I read it last year, close to Christmas, because Christmas does take place during the book. It's not necessarily a holiday book, but it does take place during the book, and I did read it near that time. I also grabbed Alice Feeney's new book, Good Bad Girl. I actually just very recently read this, I think 2 months ago. So I shouldn't celebrate too much because it took almost 2 full years to read this book, but I did read it. I didn't love this. I don't think Alice Feeney is for me. Honestly, I haven't enjoyed an Alice Feeney. I like this one more than the other one I read, but I still only gave it 3 stars. In the same vein as a good thriller, I ended up picking A Death at the Party by Amy Stewart. Well, we've made it a long time through this video before we found another unread book, but we have found another unread book. And Death of a Party is one that I was really excited to read when I got it. So I'm actually surprised I haven't read it yet. Let me grab it and we're going to talk about it. But I am quite excited to read this. It's also, I believe, on my These Books Will Self-Destruct list. So like I plan to read it this year anyway and kind of need to read it sooner rather than later because I mean, it's October. So a death at a party is a death at a party. It's a like summer party, I think, like a summer garden party. Yes, Nadine is doing her summer garden party, which she does typically every year. And fast forward to sometime during the party where she finds herself in her basement standing over a dead body. How did we get there? That's what we find out as we read this book. And it's You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I have read You Again. It's literally right there. You can kind of see it. It's right there. And I have read it. I read it last fall. It is a When Harry Met Sally retelling set in New York in the fall over many, many years. Honestly, we see these two couples come together over many years. I really liked it. 4 stars. Would definitely recommend if you're looking for like a fall romance. This is a great shout. The fall vibes are strong with this one. And it's The Book Club Hotel by Sarah Morgan. So I have unhauled this. I don't think that would be shocking to anyone. Knowing my current reading taste, I don't think this necessarily fits those vibes. This is more of a contemporary fiction, more of a lit fic, which I don't typically read. And it just became something that was just sitting on my shelves that would have sat there till the end of time. I, however, did gift this to my mother who did really enjoy this, and it did get a lot of love from someone else, just not me. So this last book I've seen now being talked about, but when I went into the bookstore, I had never heard of it, and it was definitely a title cover buy, and that is God Killer by Hannah Kaner. Of course I have read God Killer. You all know this if you've been around. I have been obsessed with this series since the moment I read God Killer. I have read the entire series at this point and given all 3 books 5 stars. Faithbreaker, I just read at the start of this year when it came out in April, and it is a 5-star series for me. Adore, love. Hannah Kaner, write more books so I can read them, please. Obsessed. But that was the last book in this book haul, which means out of the entire haul, I mean, I don't think I've read necessarily more than I've unhauled. Editing me will do that math and put it up here. I may have unhauled more than I've read. I don't know. But I only have 2 unread books that I actually still own. So of these 2 books, you get to decide which one I need to read immediately. And the other one will get read too at some point. I just don't know when. You're going to force me to read one immediately though. So you're going to get to vote between The Girl from Widow's Hill by Megan Miranda or A Death at the Party by Amy Stewart. Again, it's not really shocking that 2 thrillers or thriller mysteries are the things unread on my shelves. I haven't been reading that lately. Been saying it all year. I need your help to make me, to be honest. So yes, put your vote in the comments of which one you would like me to read, and you will see it on a episode of Tackling Timmies or Timmy's TBR or some vlog somewhere where I decide to read this book. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.